I spent over $2 million on products like these vitamins right here that we can buy at Walgreens.com on a really awesome sale. And then we can sell this exact same item on Amazon in a 3-pack for $55. And because of all the sales we found on this item, we're gonna be able to buy 3 of these for $30 and end up making over $10 in profit every time we sell one of these items on Amazon. And I started my Amazon business with $1,500 to my name and have since scaled that to over $4 million in sales. So if that $2 million number sounds really intimidating, don't worry, in this video I got you. I'm gonna be breaking down the complete checklist of everything that I look at before I pull the trigger and buy a profitable item to sell in my Amazon FBA business. And so based on this profitable example I want to break down for you right here, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the checklist. And by the way, for everything I'm gonna break down, I'm also gonna add even more detail, add some extra bullet points. There's an 18-point checklist down below. It's completely free, and that's the same product sourcing checklist that I run everything through. But we're gonna go ahead and run through the really important things to check and break down some of the most common pitfalls that a lot of new Amazon sellers fall for. So this video will save you thousands of dollars in mistakes when you're starting your Amazon FBA business. So let's go ahead and dive into it here. On a super surface level, the most important things I'm looking for on every item that I sell on Amazon is that I'm going to make at least $3 in profit according to SellerAmp, and I want my ROI to be at least 30%. Basically what that means is every time I spend $10 on products, I'm going to make $3 in profit back that I can then start pulling from my business or reinvest and continue to grow my business. And it's because of compounding all of the return on investment over time that I was able to turn my $1,500 into over $2 million. The other quick things we want to go ahead and break down here are going to be BSR. So this is best sellers rank. The closer this number is to 1, the closer it is to being the number 1 best selling item in that category. So for example, this is the 53,000th best selling product in the health and household category, as we can see right up there. And SellerAmp will also estimate our sales. So on this listing right here, it's selling about 159 times per month. Typically, I want this estimated sales number to be at least 30 sales per month. And the higher that number is, the less strict we can be with a lot of the smaller things we're going to break down today. The lower it is, the more profit you want to look for, because as items sell slower, there's more time in between each sale happening on Amazon. And that time creates risk for the product's price to drop or for anything else to go wrong with the product. We need to always remember to price in the risk of having slow selling products. On this example, it sells over 100 times a month, but I have no problem buying an item that has a 35% return on investment, super solid profit per unit right here. And the other thing you really want to break down is making sure that the price is consistent, right? So just because the item is $55 today, and up here you can even see it says it's $53, the reason why we can pull $55 on this item is because when we are an FBA seller, we can zoom in down here to Keepa. This is the other paid product research tool that you'll need. Keepa, SellerAmp, that's all you need. Keep it super simple to start out. But Keepa is going to show us exactly what price this item has been over time. And for us as Amazon FBA sellers, we're going to be shipping these items into Amazon's warehouse, letting them take care of all the shipping, customer service, all that good stuff for us. And what this Keepa chart down here shows us is how consistent the price is over time. And it's also showing me right here that this FBA seller here, they're able to charge $56. This FBA seller again is able to charge about $58. And so there's a lot of proof on this graph right here that we're going to be able to sell this item for at least $55 as an FBA seller. And zooming our time horizon out a little bit here, the other thing we want to look for, and this is where a ton of new Amazon sellers mess up, is making sure that the profit is consistent over time on an item like this. So you can see over the last 3-month history of this item, the price has almost always been super profitable. See, looks like our worst case scenario is this item would be about $50. So let's see what happens. If it's $50, we're still making $6.40 profit. That's why it's really important to stick to an ROI threshold so that if anything goes wrong with your items, maybe it drops a little bit. In this case, we're still making 20% on our money. We're still making $6 profit. And that's our literal worst case scenario on an item like this. You can also go ahead and check the 30-day or even 90-day average prices on the SellerAmp Chrome extension here. So over the last 90 days, we can see that the average price has been $57. So that's even higher than I was estimating for you guys. If that is the case and we can sell a lot of stuff at $57, then we're going to end up making over $12 profit on this product. So this is a major gem for any of you guys who might be struggling to find items that stay profitable long-term, is to make sure that based on the average 30-day and 90-day price at your cost price, make sure that the ROI is at least 30%, or worst case scenario, it's 25% ROI. Because if you go into an item and the price is artificially inflated, there's a really good shot that on a lot of those items where let's say the average buy box price was $40, if we go back down to the average buy box price, we definitely don't want to be selling an item like this. So it's super important to be sticking to items that are at least somewhat profitable on average over the last 30 and 90 days. So I'm going to show you some of the other nitty gritty traps that a lot of new Amazon sellers fall for. But again, I want to quickly break down why this item is is good. The BSR is under 200,000. That tends to be the highest that I like to look for. The estimated sales is over 30 sales per month. At our current cost price, we're making at least 30% ROI. And when we check out the average buy box prices, our profit is going to stay consistent and we have much less risk of this item not staying profitable in the long run. So that quick process right there will make you more profitable than most Amazon sellers, but I'm going to give you even more value and show you how to dig through some of the traps and figure out how much of these items that we'd actually want to be buying to sell in our store. So for that, I want to take us on to this next example item I've got right here. So we can buy these Converse shoes on sale for $53. We can see that they're selling right now on Amazon for $109, which would leave us with a pretty solid profit. But there's a big problem with this item, and it's one that a lot of new Amazon sellers might miss. So I want to break it down for you so you don't end up wasting a bunch of money buying products that don't sell. All we need to do to figure out if our items are actually going to sell quickly on Amazon is go down to the data offers tab of Keepa. I want to go ahead and click include historical offers. And this is a very powerful tab. I wasn't using this for way too long in my Amazon business, but what it's going to show you is every seller who's ever been on this listing. It's going to show you the prices that they were charging and the stock count that they had over time. And so for example, on this item, we can see right now, this seller is at $109. We can also see that earlier this month, they had 16 of these products in stock. And we can also watch their stock count drop over time. And so if you can see the right data points on the data offers tab, this is going to guarantee you that your items will sell on Amazon. But this is where I want to break down some really important nuance. When we're looking at the Keepa offers tab, a lot of people will just look at this graph and say, oh, wow, they had 25 in stock. The next day they had one. They must have sold 24 units overnight, right? The problem with thinking this way is that this item is an FBM offer. We can see this is the blue line that shows us as FBM. It'll also say, hey, this is a new third-party FBM down here on Keepa. And what that means is this seller can change their stock count over time. They can do whatever they want. And so these don't necessarily even need to be real sales. To figure out if this item is actually selling, I'll go ahead and filter down to prime offers right here because it's way harder to trick people on the offers tab using the prime data. And when I filter down to prime data right here, we can see that there's only ever been 2 prime sellers. The best that we've ever seen is one person maybe made 1 sale. Seems like they maybe made 3 sales back here. And I don't know about you, but I'm not in the business of selling items that have only sold 4 times over the last months. And we can also take this a step further, right? The offers tab is not the end all be all. Sometimes it might be a little off. And so I like to get a second opinion by checking the variations tab of Keepa. So to do that, I'm going to grab the ASIN from SellerAmp here. I'm going to go over to ASIN, and then I'm going to paste that ASIN, and that's going to filter down all of the variations. We can see we take that away. We're going to have a ton of different options there. But if we filter back down to just this one single variation, we can see that this item only has 2 ratings over the entire history of this product. And we can even zoom out there. So like over the last entire year of this product, no one has rated this product, which means that there's a very slim chance that this item is even selling. And so I get this question all the time from beginners. If your item has variations, so this is a great example, pair of shoes, tons of different sizes, tons of different colors. This estimated sales number is actually split between all of the variations on this listing. And so it's really important to check both the data offers tab and the Keepa variations tab. And using that information, we're able to determine pretty easily that this item has not seen too many sales recently. And I'd be pretty surprised if you buy this item and it ends up selling. And just as a reminder, if you want to see all of this in writing so that it makes a little bit more sense for you, it's completely free. Go ahead and click that link down below. But now that we know how to tell when an item looks like it's selling, but it's not actually selling, let's look at another super common trap, right? So I want to pull up this example of a product, super weird product. This is proof that people will buy literally anything on Amazon, right? It's some creepy doll toy, but that's fine, right? It doesn't really matter what we're selling on Amazon. All that matters is that the data looks good, right? So we were able to find this product on sale for $10. And let's say we were looking at this item back in March, right? So back in March, this item was selling for $22. If we punch all that in, it's probably going to be decently profitable, right? So 49% ROI, all that good stuff. But you can see a big problem as we increased over time here is as more and more sellers hopped on this listing, the price had no choice but to drop, right? So going back to super simple middle school economics, if the supply on an item is raising, so we can see down here on Keepa, this is the new offer count. This is charting how many new sellers are on this listing. And over the course of a month, it basically went from 20 sellers to 47 sellers, right? So we over doubled the amount of supply that we have. And the sales rank on this item more or less stayed the same. It dropped a little bit, right? So there's a little bit of a reason why the price might stay the same. If the demand is also going up with supply, again, middle school economics, that's going to mean that the new price on the item might be able to stay somewhat stable. But the more that you see the new seller count rising, the more likely it is to tank. And so whenever you're sourcing a product, keep in mind that if you see a rapidly increasing seller count like this, typically the only thing that's going to end up happening to that item is the price drops, right? So I've got another quick example of that for you. We can see this item right here. We can actually buy it at Menards for 30 bucks. We can sell it on Amazon right now for $54. And right now this item is actually profitable, right? So we can sell it for $54. But the problem is that the demand has not changed, right? So this green sales rank line is showing me that over time, the sales rank is not dipping down, right? We would want to see it going closer and closer to 1 if there's more and more sellers hopping on, right? So this last item, the price was saved a little bit, right? We saw that demand shoot closer and closer to 1 as the supply went up right there. There's still a really good shot that this item keeps going down in price, but it's definitely going to keep going down in price on an item like this where the demand has more or less stayed the same. We can basically draw an imaginary line through all of this green sales rank data right here, but the supply on this item is rapidly shooting up, right? So this new offer count has gone from 2 sellers to 14 sellers. So we have 7 times as many sellers on this item over the last 6 weeks or so. So if you ever see patterns on Keepa that look like this, it's a really good indicator that that price might drop over time. And so you really want to be careful buying items that look like this, especially what I was talking about earlier. The more the item sells, the riskier you can get, right? An item that only sells 41 times per month, there's almost an entire day in between each sale, an entire day where one of these 14 sellers can decide, hey, I haven't been selling too many of these. I want to lower my price. And then somebody else is going to say, hey, he lowered his price. I want to follow his price down. Otherwise, everybody's going to get stuck with their inventory. And so on items that sell slow, you need to be even greedier when you're looking into these items. So since it is 7x'd in supply and the price honestly hasn't changed too much, it's dropped by $10 or so here, we're almost guaranteed that the price is going to continue to drop as these sellers get frustrated with the fact that it's not selling very fast and their profits are going to continue to decrease here. So if you saw on this item it's selling 4,000 times a month, it's probably okay, right? If there's 4,000 sales a month, an extra 12 sellers on the listing, there's a lot of sales that are going to be split between those 12 sellers still. And this item is also another good example of something that I check on every single item before we pull the trigger, and that's making sure that the brand themselves has never sold this item. So we can see down here on Keepa, we can see that Lux Thermostats, which is the same as the brand, right? So Lux right there, Lux Thermostats actually sold this item. And the reason why you typically don't want to sell items that the brand themselves are selling is that it's well within a brand's right on Amazon to kick you off a listing if they don't want you to be there. If you created a product and got it listed on Amazon and did all the work talking to suppliers, you'd probably want to hog all those sales on Amazon too, right? And so it's our job as arbitrage sellers to slip in on the hundreds of thousands of listings where the brands themselves are not interested in selling the product. Because if you do end up trying to compete with the brand, you might get an IP complaint or an inauthentic complaint where the brand can say, hey, we don't know who you are, and Amazon's going to ask for your documentation. And even though we're buying from a very legitimate website right here, we're buying from Menards, they got a ton of stores all over the country, and we wouldn't necessarily get our account shut down if we do have to appeal and say, hey, Amazon, we bought these, are legit. It's still going to cause some headaches, and it's still going to make it harder for you to actually end up selling those items on Amazon. So super quick, simple thing to check. Make sure the brand has not sold this item, and especially not within the last couple weeks like this thermostat brand has. Another thing you want to check before pulling the trigger on an item is making sure that you can actually make sales, right? So a big question I get all the time is, can I compete with Amazon? Should I sell on items that Amazon is also selling? And this is a really good example of an item that you'd probably want to avoid, right? So on the SellerAmp alerts panel right here, it's telling me that Amazon is not necessarily sharing the buy box, right? So we can even zoom in down here on the buy box analysis page of SellerAmp. And if you're not familiar with what the buy box means, it's basically just whoever's owning this button right here, the add to cart button. If you've ever shopped on Amazon, I'm sure you've bought 99% of the stuff just by hitting add to cart. And so the key to making sales on Amazon is winning the buy box. And when we look at an item like this Lego set right here, we can see that Amazon over the last 90 days here has hogged 100% of the sales on this listing. So even if you were able to find this item super profitably, Amazon is going to continue to hog a lot of the sales. What you want to see on items that are good to sell, like the vitamins that we started this video with, is a ton of different sellers of all different sizes making a ton of sales, right? So this seller has 30 feedback. They're relatively new to the game and they just made a sale, right? This guy's got 1,000 feedback and they just made a sale. This guy's only got 9 and he made a sale 8 hours ago. This healthy buy box rotation where it's rotating between a ton of different sellers, whether they're big, small, or even Amazon themselves. If you go and look at the buy box statistics on an item and you that, hey, Amazon's on this listing, but they're not hogging all the sales, right? The pie chart looks like this. There's lots of different sellers making sales, even if there's a couple different sellers making sales, right? You just need to see that there's not one specific store that's hogging 100% of the sales that's happening on a product. So hopefully all that helps you make a smarter purchasing decision while you're out there sourcing products. If you want to see all of this in PDF format, I'll leave a link down below. You can check it out. And if you compare the products that you start sourcing for your Amazon store against this checklist, you'll save a ton of money. My goal for the channel and all the free resources that I put out is to help you make less mistakes than I did and scale your Amazon business to 10,000, 100,000, $1 million a year, whatever your goal is, twice as fast as I did. So if you have any questions, comments, feel free to drop those down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you guys. Also, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. That helps me out with my YouTube channel, kind of add some value back to my business for giving you some free value. Also hit the like button, all that good stuff if you want to help me out with the algorithm. But I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and I will see you next time.